This is the Paltalk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments. Whether you agree with yours truly or not, no retribution, and thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio. We're syndicated to an additional 12 million households across the United States. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. I welcome you to the show, and I recommend very highly that you go to www.paltalknewsnetwork.com early and often, just like voting in Chicago, to read stories that you may or may not see here or read in the mainstream media. A lot of stories about Iran there today, and that's our topic du jour. I'm going to get to that in just a second. But I want to remind those of you who are listening on the internet or on CRN Digital Talk Radio that the easiest way to join us right here is by going to joinchatnow.com. Joinchatnow.com. Click on there. It'll magically transport you to our virtual auditorium on Paltalk, and you can participate in this conversation as well. There is no charge. Well, 6 more dissidents have been arrested in Iran. The other day, I think it was 12 or 13 were arrested at the home, or 16 at the home of an Iranian filmmaker. They didn't like the films that this filmmaker was making, so they arrested the filmmaker. They arrested his wife. They arrested his daughter and his dinner guests. Now, let me tell you why this is so significant, because March 21st is the Iranian New Year, and typically, as the new year approaches, the Iranians release political prisoners as a gesture of reconciliation, as the new year approaches and in honor of the new year. Well, they're going in exactly the opposite direction there. Now, in addition to, and I wrote, I think, fairly passionately last night about this situation on the Paltalk News Network site, that while the world is paying some attention to Iran's nuclear aspirations, the human rights violations in that country are getting less and less attention. And the reason for that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Iranians have done a great job, the Iranian government, of shutting down the flow of information. Virtually every foreign correspondent has been expelled. If you want to remain a reporter from another nation in Iran, you cannot report on anything controversial. And the flow from the dissidents and the citizen journalists to Paltalk, to YouTube, to Facebook, to Twitter, has been impaired by the government that's gone to great strides to cut off that flow of information. And so, unfortunately, the mainstream television news media, if they don't have the pictures, they don't have the story. So a story that gets great play before, because the video, compelling video, was being shipped out of Iran, is getting very little play today because they don't have the video to back up the story, and to them the story doesn't occur if there is no video. Really, folks, I'm recommending that you pay attention to this, because stories that otherwise ought not to get coverage sometimes do when they have the video, and stories that ought to get coverage sometimes don't when they do not have the video. Well, today I sadly report to you that the Security Council, the United Nations Security Council, is split on Iran. Not that we haven't predicted that this would happen, but the United States, the United Kingdom, and France want additional sanctions placed on Iran because of its failure to comply with the UN resolutions demanding that they be forthcoming about their nuclear aspirations to ensure that they are not developing a nuclear weapon. The three aforementioned nations, led mainly by the United States, want additional sanctions. They want to direct them at the leadership of the Revolutionary Guard in order to, they believe, force compliance. The other two permanent members of the UN Security Council, China and Russia, say, no, let's take it easy. Let's talk, let's talk, let's talk, let's talk. Now, let me tell you something. And let me be perfectly clear so that there is no misunderstanding about my position on this issue. I really am not 100% sure which tact is the best one to take. I acknowledge that I do not have all the answers. I know usually people sitting in this kind of a seat, pontificating to audiences, they know all the answers. I acknowledge that I'm not certain which way is the right way. Maybe a combination of the two would be in order. I do not know, but I will tell you this. When a mother and a father, and I believe this is a fair analogy, give mixed signals to their children, the father saying one thing, the mother saying another, nothing is accomplished with regard to the disciplining of the child, with regard to giving that child guidance. You send the wrong message to the child. And what is that message? I can do anything I please. I will play mommy off of daddy and daddy off of mommy, and I will do what I please. I know this is very simplistic terminology, but it is absolutely apropos to the discussion at hand. And I'm going to tell you right now, and it is not just Israel in the Middle East nervous about a nuclear-armed Iran, the prospect thereof. There are a lot of states in the Middle East who are as concerned as is Israel about this issue. If the United Nations Security Council cannot come to terms with this issue and agree uniformly about what ought to be done, if it's going to continue to be just a debating society, when a war does occur as a result of this, and if Israel gets to the point where they feel that they have no choice but to preemptively strike Iran to eliminate the nuclear threat, I know that the United Nations will get its stuff together and it will issue resolutions of condemnation of Israel. Now that they're pretty good at doing. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to go on the record,